Hi, everyone. Welcome back to part two of how to overcome the seasonal slide in your life, business, or career. And a seasonal slide is a play on words from summer slide. And you can go back and watch part one, why I said, why is it a play on summer slide? And I went into detail about that. So, a slide of or a slump of wherever you are in your life, and I'm taking this from personal experiences, and I want to share these fresh, hot lessons, right off the market, because I consider myself, I did a case study on myself, and I was like, what are the lessons that I've learned? And I placed myself in a sort of like summer school, and because I realized, okay, I was in this slump or in this slide, and one of the remedies were to you have to be in the environment of where you were progressing. And so because my background is in education, I was like, well, how I can make it make sense to me is to put myself in summer school. And summer school is typically the accelerated version of school. And a lot of you who've gone through school know that summer school is not always for people who fall behind. I was able to finish a lot of my college studies from summer school because I was getting that extra boost. So don't have a negative, attitude towards summer school thinking is that, oh, it's for people who may have failed during the regular year. No, a lot of the people who excel, they put a lot of focus on summer school, or I'll say, when a lot of people are relaxing, they are keeping the momentum or they are accelerating the momentum. And I realized, like, okay, V, you have to get yourself back in that gear. So overall, what I realized, I've taken the steps from my taglines on my YouTube channel of to redream, realign, reinvent, and realize. So this is part two where we're going to talk about realign. And you see me looking down because this is really like fresh, hot off the press. All right, so we talked about redreaming in part one, and I want to say that redreaming is you don't always have time to come up with a new dream. You know within yourself if it's time for you to come up with something totally new, but I'm going to say for majority of us, it is all about the redreaming, going back to where we started, that initial tug and pull, or the one that we've been avoiding. So a lot of times they're not new. We just have to redream and restart. So once you do that, then I say to realign. And these are the things that I had to do. Now, I want to say this as a true coach or consultant or someone who gives you advice, a thought leader, you may not do these in the exact same steps. A lot of times where a lot of us have made the mistake is we're trying to follow something exactly as someone else said it, and we're like, it doesn't work for us. I believe pretty much everything works, but you have to know how to make it work for you. So although I'm going in this particular order, this works for me, but I do think if you use what I'm talking about, you get to put it in the different order of your choosing so it works for you. All right, so part two is realign, and the definition of just alignment. Before we even read, you have to know what the actual is. So it says a noun that refers to the correct positioning of something, or to be in agreement, to adjust, or to arrange in a straight line. A lot of us know that life is not a straight line, but, well, I will say a life is a forward motion. So it goes forward. It may not be exactly straight, but we'll say in a straight direction, like going forward. All right. It can have its turns, but when you're realigning something, if you take the practical side of that, for tires and things like that, or realigning your spine or things, it is for a straight line. So I do like so just keep that. But the one I want to focus on is to be in agreement, to adjust, or to arrange. And we'll talk more about that. Now, realignment is to change or restore to a different or former position or state. That goes back to the redreaming. Sometimes it's not always about something new. It is about restoring something from before. So that's why it's important to redream and then to realign. Now, there are some steps that I'm going to talk about. And before I do that, another definition of realignment that I like was to change one's position or attitude with regard to a person, an organization, or a cause. whatever caused you to be in a summer slide or a seasonal slide, you have to change your attitude towards that. It is what it is. It's here now. The only thing you can do is to readjust your attitude, change your position, and we'll get more into that. So the lessons that I've learned coming out of my summer slide, because at this time it was a real summer slide for you. Whenever you're watching this, it may be a seasonal slide. So the first thing is after had a redream, let's say you don't have a problem with dream, you already know that you're on track and you're committed to your dream, but you're drifting. So maybe it's time for you to realign. The first thing I had to do to get back into realigning was to make an agreement. And that's why I said come back to agreement. And the agreement was to make a decision to the dream. I had to make an agreement, like this is what it's going to be, and then I had to make a decision. So first we talked about realign, and then under realign is to make an agreement. And I was watching Uncle MG, Myron Golden. He's not my real uncle, but he gives Uncle MG vibes, and not creepy uncle though. So when he and I've heard this before, but the way he put it is when you make a decision, that means you cut off everything else. You cut yourself off apart from everything else. It's not a choice because when you have a choice, you can say, oh, A or B, or I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to do that. But when you make a decision, nope, this is it. This is final. And so for me, I was like, okay, once I got back, refocus on the dream and go back and watch part one, I was like, okay, I'm going to agree. This is what it's going to be. And I made the decision that I'm going full out on this thing no matter what. Now, you're probably saying, well, don't all of us do that? I think a lot of us make a choice. And there was a part where I went back into the slide was, well, let me go back and do something that I did before, or maybe it is to go and just get a job or go just do this business over here or, just consult in this area, not just, full out focus on what I wanted to do based on the dream, right? And the call or the assignment for this particular season of my life. So I had to make an agreement with myself, make a decision and be committed to that. I think a lot of us are making choices and then, it's like it's nice to do that. It's kind of it's not an agreement, it's just a conversation. But once you make an agreement, it is signed, sealed, and delivered. And then this is the part where I realized that I tripped up. This is looking back, I've seen areas where clients have tripped up. And then even in groups and masterminds or coaching programs and just watching different people get tripped up. And I did this, and that's why I had to realign is trying to focus on the right thing. That's what causes the slide because if something isn't working to you in your natural eyes, and it's real too. You're like, no, I literally tried this and it did not work. How the person said it did not work, right? It's working on you. It may not have worked for you, but when you look at it, you're like, I, I know what I feel. I know what I see. So maybe it's not the right thing. Here's why you have to realign and make the agreement to the decision that you made. This is going to be a harsh reality, but it's in the Bible. I can back it up. God does not care what you do. What and let's not get too technical. Yes, he gives us the desires of our heart, but it's him who gives it to us if you do it right. But overall, from that, there's a reason why a lot of things are general in the Bible. God doesn't care what you do. The scripture, Proverbs 16:3 says, commit to the Lord whatever you do. I didn't say that. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. Verse 4 says, the Lord works out everything to its proper end. So that goes similar to Romans, I think, 8. All things work for the good. That doesn't mean all good things work. It just means all things work for the good. What feels good, what doesn't look good, what hurts, all of that works for God's common goal. And when you understand it that way, you make the decision and it's the right decision and you go forward. So if you want to have a coaching business, a consulting business, uh, a real estate business, a car wash franchise, a Burger King franchise, daycare, e-commerce, fintech, or if it's in your career and you want to go be the CEO or whatever it is, whatever that dream, because God, you got to seek that out for yourself, and then you can add coaches and consultants and masterminds to help that, but you have to make that decision. Once you do, you make the agreement to commit to it and say, okay, God, this is it. I'm taking all other options off the table. You may have heard non-negotiable. When I would say non-negotiable, I think I was still kind of like, yeah, it's non-negotiable, but not really making that true. For me, and you have to, and this is something I'm going to say too, sometimes you have to know what words like work for you to make you do the thing. And so for me, agreement and decision and realignment, those words were like, okay, that stuck with me. And that is what allowed me to get out of this slide, put myself in summer school and get traction. So again, the scripture was Proverbs 16:3. And I believe that there are a lot of people, even if they're not believers, they do this. They're like, I'm going to pick this pony and ride it out. And a lot of us are choosing, like, do I want the pony? Do I want the car? Do I want the train station? You pick a destination and you pick your mode of transportation and you ride that thing until you get there. All right. So lesson number two that I'm gonna squirt myself back in the face. Lesson number two from Realign was to adjust your attitude. So just for two, if you're taking some kind of notes, it's really attitude. So after you realign and then you make an agreement, you have to adjust your attitude. For me, this was a big one because I can get an attitude about anything. It's not always that it's like, that snobby attitude, but it's like, you feel some type of way, right? So you have to so the definition of attitude that I liked was a mental position with regard to a fact or state, a feeling or emotion toward a fact or state. So if your dream hasn't come true yet, or you're not seeing the momentum that's going to lead it to that, or you're not building the foundation, you don't see it happening, the only thing you can control is your response to what's happening, your attitude. You can only do what you can do to a certain point, then we'll get to lesson three. But for the most part, let's say you're doing what you're doing and you're like, it's not working. You have to change your attitude. Part of that is your expectation. And then the part of it is like literally looking on the bright side. There is a situation that I am currently dealing with and which caused me to be in the slide. I was like, oh no, this is ghetto. This is stupid. How in the world? Even if something is your fault, you still have to adjust your attitude. Because you put yourself in the situation, you made the best decision or choice what you could have. You probably made a choice, but for a lot of us, we made the best decision that we thought we could. Just the outcome wasn't favorable. But how do you approach that outcome? Could you still have the negative attitude? Could you still be living in shame and regret and all of that? You could. You have a choice to do that. This is where you have a choice. You can look at it either way, but then you make the decision about your attitude. It may be ghetto, it may suck, but what can I learn from this? What can I be grateful for? What can I be thankful for? And those things may sound cliche, but this is how you manage your mental. This is how you keep yourself from going deeper down in the hole, because I get, especially if you are a high achiever, you are a top performer, you're used to things working out all the time for you, or you're used to putting in your effort and then seeing the results. Sometimes when your dream is so big and you're on a certain journey or path, you're not going to see those results as soon as you think. And then that can cause you to flip out. Like, it's the Olympics at the time of this recording, it's the Olympics. And there are people who made it to I think I forgot about this. Like, once you make it to the Olympics, you still have to go through some things before you can qualify to be in the running for the medal. Just because you showed up doesn't mean you're automatically going to get the medal. So can you imagine the people who have put all that effort, they made it to the Olympics, but they got knocked out right before they can qualify for the medal? And then these are the people who are going to come back in 4 years to do it all over again. That's a long period of time to manage your mental and your attitude. So think about it like that. Sometimes your slide may not be a few months, like a season, a typical season where it's 3 to 4 months. It could be 3 to 4 years, but you have to be aware that you're in the slide and then start doing something about it. So once you're aware, then you get to realign, you get to make a new agreement, and then you get to or you must adjust your attitude. And this is not a one and done. You do this constantly until you're fully on the other side of the slide because you still have a race to run, right? So, using the example of the Olympics, yes, let's say let's say you didn't make it to the running to get on the podium, right? You didn't even get to be in the final. You were only in the semifinal. That's where you start prepping yourself like, do I say forget it and retire? This is it. This is not for me. Or do you say, okay, at least I made it here. At least I got to experience it. I beat out so many other people. Now I know what to do for next time. So that's how you adjust your attitude and know that it's not a one and done. Even the people who made it to the finals and who didn't make it on the podium, they still have to do the same thing. And even the people who made it on the podium, yes, you did it. They still have to still adjust their attitude for if they're going for the next Olympic, because there's always, someone who's out there ready to beat them. So they don't get, even the Olympic athletes don't get to rest. The gold winners don't get to rest. So you're always adjusting your attitude. So it's not a one and done. And then the third lesson from under realigning was you have to take action. Now I know it is so cliche. So once you realign, the third one is to take action. It is very cliche. And I say it's like, you gotta take radical action, or you're not taking enough action. What it really is you have to track your actions and you have to make sure you track the right actions. A lot of us, if you're in the slide and some of us, like I'll be honest, in that slide, absolutely nothing. And that I put myself in summer school where I was learning, but as far as me taking action towards the dream, that was a different type of action. But for a lot of us, at first, before you recognize that you're in this slide, you're like doing, but you could be doing the wrong things. You could be taking action in the wrong direction. So it's the feeling of being busy. And I know that can hurt. You're like, well, I did this and I did that. So one example, if you're in this, the advice industry or digital product industry, coaching consultant, however you want to say it, and you're creating, documents, courses, posts, slides, you're doing all of that. But if you're in a business, you're not making sales calls, you're not generating leads, you're not speaking on, stages or in crowds, or you're not hosting your own events. Those are the things that will draw people to you so you can make your income. That's action in the wrong direction. Now, there are times where you do have to do that yourself, but how much time are you focusing on doing that versus the other things? And that's something I had to be honest with about myself. I was taking a whole bunch of action and I was doing a lot of the things, but was I doing them in the right direction? And for me, it was in the right direction of the real dream, where I had to redream, and the answer is no. So I'm going to challenge you to let go of your ego and say, you know what? Maybe I'll just do some practical. Maybe I was, I'll do a few examples. So maybe I was recording all of these videos, right? And this is probably a real example because now I'm having this real life processing, doing all of these videos, but was it towards what I really knew what my assignment and calling was for this time? I can tell you probably not. So doing all the videos, taking action, I'm showing up, but one, was it in the right direction towards the big dream? And two, was I really offering people the solutions that I knew that would help them? That was a no. So you got to be honest with yourself. So you may have been doing all the videos, but were you making the offers, the sales calls, and things like that? if you are in your career. You may be showing up to work, you may be attending all the meetings and things like that, but did you go put yourself in a position to host the next meeting or do the training or go after the consulting, whatever that is, you know what that thing was. And let's say you don't. This is where I had to go into summer school. Again, there were 4 mentors that I focused on this summer to some of it was harsh to hear, but what actions did I need to take in this specific direction for this specific dream? Those were the only things that I need to have. And those action steps came from the targets from the dream that turned into goals. And then I could break those down into action steps. So you have to be honest about your dream. Then you have to be honest about what you want to do in this moment. And then set new targets and goals and take action towards those things, the things that are going to move the needle. So for everyone, if you're in a business or you want to generate more income, it is sales. You got to talk to people and got to offer them solutions. You can't be busy creating things that nobody wants or nobody knows about. And that was something for me. It could be you're busy at these networking events. A lot of people like to network, getting cars or getting connections, changing socials and things like that. But are you adding value to these people? Do you even know what value you have to offer, or are you just out there being a socialite? I can say more examples, but you have to track your actions toward your dreams for the season that you're in, the calling that you're in. So, like I said, some of your dreams may be so big that they're going to outlive you, but how do you break that down into what you can do now? So there may be something, let's say you want to end world hunger. Okay, great. But there's something that you're doing. Maybe is to so that may be the purpose. Maybe a dream is to own a food bank, like to create a food bank yourself. All right, great. That is still massive, right? It's still your big calling, your big purpose. Then you break it down to what's my calling? What's my assignment? My assignment may be to build this food bank. Okay, now you may have been doing all these other things. Now you redream, you refocus. Now, what are the things you need to do for this food bank? You do nothing else. You make the decision and you agree to do everything about this food bank. Even when things are going haywire, you adjust your attitude and you focus. Food bank is the goal, and then every action step that you take. And there are things that you can connect with people to break these things down even further, but you only do the action steps towards getting that food bank. And once you do that, then you go to the next step. You don't drift off. You don't have a food drive and then you stop at the food drive. That may be one thing you do, but that's not the end. I think a lot of us, we take action and then we get a little bit of success and then we stop. And that's like, that's not enough. Or one, you're not taking action in the right direction, or you're just not taking enough action. And if you're finding yourself in a slide or a slump, you're not taking enough action. So you still need to do something, right? So you need to stop saying, oh, well, at least this the least I can do. No, it's not. You can do more. But if you're on the person that is taking action, you're like, it's still not happening, you may need to look at what actions you are taking. All right. So again, you may not start at the redream. Maybe you start here at a realignment. Again, I'm just telling you what order worked for me. But the great thing about these series is that I believe you can interchange them, but what works for you. So to recap, when you realign, one, you have to make an agreement, make this and be committed to that decision. Two, you have to adjust your attitude, right? And then three, you have to track your actions in the right direction. All right. So thank you for listening and learning with me for part two of how to overcome your seasonal slide in your life, career, or business, which is a play on words for summer slide. And if you want to stay connected with me, I invite you to join Master Coach U, which is a complimentary resource. It's a massive library, but it's a complimentary resource that takes you through 4 zones of where you can start, putting some things together, start coaching yourself. So when you're ready to really invest with a coach or an advisory group, whether that's with me or someone else, you won't be starting from ground zero. And I do also invite you to stay connected for my upcoming event. That information will be down below. So we're starting one soon in a couple of weeks. It's going to be, I call it it's a 3-hour virtual expo. And I'll tell you what the virtual expo is about in part 3. But if it's not the virtual expo, the upcoming event will still be listed down below. All right, so remember, wherever you are, whether you're beginning your day or ending your day, be well, be empowered, be bold, and be brilliant. Until next time.